Hey, we're at CogX. Woohoo! It's just so exciting because I've been watching CogX from the sidelines for so long, and now that Neon Juno is up and running and flying, and we're taking everything from public sector values-based leadership into the tech sector to help tech businesses to grow. It feels such a natural place, a disruptive place, a fun place, an agitating space, and just relax. And it feels great to be here. So what have we got lined up over these few days? Well, actually, for the next 3 days, we've brought together some really fantastic talent. Kind of one of my mantras around leadership is it's all about you and none of it's about you. And so it's little surprise that even in this virtual booth, it's all about us and Neon Juno, and yet none of it's about us. So we've brought together quite an eclectic range of talkers. We'll be talking about what it means in terms of delegation, what delegation looks like for businesses, and how founders in particular can learn to delegate more effectively. That's such an important way to build the team around you. And we'll be talking to Dave Ford, who's both an investor and a consultant in this space. So he'll be able to describe some of the mistakes that he sees, and in particular where that failure to delegate routinely can actually block that exit strategy for founders. As an investor, it's really important to see how the team can function without you. Makes sense. We've then also got a session lined up that looks at team engagement, and that session really gets in underneath the skin of your team and kind of how you can inspire and motivate. There's so much change going on, and many team relationships have been quite fractured at the moment. The future of work dialogues that are going on and the level of uncertainty is really making cohesion difficult at times. So you're going to hear some really practical tips from Abby Pearce about how to handle that. We'll also hear from Diksha Chakravarti, who's going to be describing empowerment and those leadership techniques that bubble up from within. Kind of how do you tap into your power? How do you tap into your strength? How do you bring in different routines that are going to help make you resilient to stress in the future? Matthew Payne will be working with me and talking with me about resilience, and we're running a program that looks at how you can tap into data that you hear within your organization. How do you get the information flows going? How do you help your business to be a psychologically safe environment? And by that I mean a place where you can be criticized, you can have feedback, but it's all for the good of the business. It's all for the good of how the team expands and grows. That's a beautiful complement to the work that I do, that is looking to the future and where we go next. We're then also going to be talking to one of the absolute rising stars in my network, and this is Chris Phippen, and we'll be hearing from Chris about kind of what the future of entrepreneurial education looks like. How do you help future leaders to become comfortable with uncertainty and also more naturally inclined to network? I'm drawing out all of the assets and resources from within the network. He's such a bright person. We kind of get lost in a lot of conversation, and so I cannot wait to interview him for that fireside chat, just to see what he comes through with. The next person I'll be speaking to is an awesome entrepreneur, Sam Michael, whose business Spark the Difference has been involved in patient engagement exercises and and workforce engagement exercises within the NHS. So a really difficult environment with a lot of political issues going on underneath the surface, and frustration and anger and scarcity. But how do you really shift that dialogue so that you can involve people and excite people and bring the heart right back into healthcare? So she's going to be sharing some of her, her most important lessons in terms of healthcare and what you can apply when you're working with your customers and with your broader stakeholder community. Amanda Duncan then is the last of my stellar cast, as it were, and she runs an edtech company called ScribeEasy, and Amanda's company at its heart has a mission to help children, in particular reluctant writers, to embrace creative writing. That sounds quite simple. It's nowhere near that easy. She sees and really advocates for young writers to be able to understand their message, to be able to explore their message safely, and to put that out into the world, and to have the confidence to be creative. We all know kind of how awkward and uncertain you can be when you're presenting something that's quite wacky, and so her tool ScribeEasy is super important in terms of encouraging that inner voice to come out and to flow and to be given space. Creativity will be the single most important skill of the future, I have no doubt at all. And so I'm fascinated to hear how Amanda brings that through in her talk. Now, of course, you do need to have some neon Juno on a neon Juno stand. So I'll be presenting a couple of very short masterclasses. One of them will be around this idea of future shaping. I have worked with so many strategic leaders that have that when you've asked them kind of where they're going to go over the next 3 years, it's like don't know, maybe a 3% cut in costs, or will grow by this much. And particularly when you get in the corporate environment, it can feel like it's a salami slice, little incremental gains. And that's great, that is great. But actually I think the world's moving so fast that it's not enough. And I think that 2020 in particular taught us that that we cannot predict, we cannot pretend to control our environment. We need to be able to respond. And so what I'm presenting is a masterclass on how you can use storytelling essentially as a strategic tool, and how you can use world building in particular to present that alternative scenario that triggers emotion and excitement among leaders, that really gets them to react. And this masterclass is one that I've run with business leaders nationally on a few occasions now, and each time I've run it, I've been blown away by the response. People love it, they hate it, they want it, they don't want it, but they're moved when they hear the presentation. It's deliberately playful and provocative because it's intended to get leaders thinking. And if we can get leaders acting, there'll be no stopping us. So I'll be presenting that masterclass on The Computer Says Yes as well during the time. And I'll also be rerunning another presentation that I've done recently, which looks at exponential leadership. And this is a case study of an organisation that I led where we deliberately set in play a number of change events that were structural and process and cultural, and in that mix by pulling together the principles of divergence and convergence and bringing across this concept of accelerating returns with lots of different projects all hitting together, we were able to grow phenomenally. In terms of traction, we were able to get national headline status and a reputation internationally for innovation that was actually quite sustainable innovation rather than a flash in the pan exercise. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you guys quite widely. And to build on that theme of exponential leadership, throughout the 3-day event we are running an exercise around exponential leadership and some of those core elements of it. There's a giveaway that is the 5 questions that you would want to ask in relation to exponential leadership, but also we want to hear what your questions are. What questions have you got about exponential leadership, what it means, how you can apply it, whether it's in relation to partnership working and networks, whether it's creativity, whether it's team engagement. We want to hear what you want to know, kind of where the blocks have been, what you need to overcome, because ultimately my role is to help change people who change the world. And if I can do that through teaching and coaching and mentoring people through exponential leadership, then we are going to have a big old impact. So the agenda you'll be able to see down below somewhere. So have a look, dive on in. It'll be really great to see you. If you've got any questions, link up with us on socials. We're always there. The details are there. Come through Instagram, Twitter or LinkedIn and you'll get a response from me or the team over the 3 days. But it's great to have you here and enjoy.